Okay, so we've hit code red with the Harden trade stuff, and we got a whole bunch of conflicting reports. It was, at first, the Sixers were willing to give up Ben Simmons for Harden, which made me go, well, then why isn't the move already done yet? Because respect to the Raptors and the Heat and the Mavs and the Nets and all those teams that were in that tweet that said who was really making offers for Harden, but Ben Simmons is just the best offer. Which is why, again, I was like, why has this not happened yet if he's actually in the move? And then we have a quote from Daryl Morey as of 10 minutes ago or so, who says, we're not trading Ben Simmons. So, are the sources wrong? Is Morey lying? I have no idea. There's a chance that this is a leak from Houston, where they're telling sources of ESPN and stuff that Ben has been offered to beef up the other team's offers. We're also seeing stuff about how Duncan Robinson seems to be the turning point in a Harden move with Miami. So it could be a ploy from Houston to be like, hey, Miami, they're willing to give us Ben, so if you really want him, you're going to have to up the stakes. So that's if the Rockets are the ones lying here. If the Sixers are the ones that are lying, and Daryl Morey has actually been shopping around Ben Simmons, even though he just denied it, then you would imagine that it would be Morey's goal to try to get the deal done. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, he can just go to Ben and be like, hey man, I established that I was never trying to trade you. It's got to be one of those two things, because we have two completely different reports right now. And I wonder now if, because this is out there with Morey, has he sort of backed himself into a corner where he can't trade Ben Simmons now? I don't know. I mean, it's still James Harden, but what does it say to the team if you had this out there and then you just traded him anyway? I mean, it's not as if the players are suddenly going to stop trying just because maybe they think the GM is a little slimy or whatever. But it just might not be the best way to establish the culture of a team that changed a whole bunch of things, like the coach and the front office, so they changed everything behind the scenes. Especially when it would also be to acquire Morey's right-hand guy in James Harden. This is basically the closest the NBA is going to get to reenacting Game of Thrones. So how's that all going to play out? No clue, man. We'll have to see. But I will go back to what I said before. If Ben Simmons is really in the offer, how has this not happened yet? Now, apparently the Rockets wanted at least 3 firsts with Simmons, if these reports are true, of course. I don't think Philly would want to give him that many. I mean, sure, it would be the Rockets' due diligence to see if Miami is really willing to go all in, and Toronto and all these other teams. And, you know, Dallas is in the report too, and perhaps Porzingis would be in the offer. He would have to be in the offer, I imagine. But it's still Ben Simmons. Now, in terms of, you know, should Philly do it, it's a tough conversation. For one, there was another report that the Rockets wanted 3 firsts for Harden. Don't think Philly would be okay with that one. They would probably look at it as, we're giving you a 23-year-old top 20, probably, player, who is on a 5-year contract, is on pace to being maybe the best defensive player in the league, and, I mean, to me, can grow into being a mid-20-point scorer. Yeah, I know the shooting is what it is, but to me, Ben can be like a not as good version of Giannis in terms of the transition stuff and drawing a whole lot of contact and shooting 10 free throws a game and setting screens and that whole thing. And, you know, that's another conversation for Philly, though. It's like, how good do they think Ben can be? Do they think Ben can be better than Harden if we fast forward a couple years? But also, do they think Ben can be that next to Embiid? Because the natural fit of Harden and Embiid just makes more sense than Ben and Joel. That being said, we have seen the on-off numbers with Ben and Joel on the court, and for the most part, it's been really good. I mean, even last year, when it was just Ben, Joel, and no Al Horford, Philly was good. So there's already enough evidence to suggest those two can work together, but it is still James Harden. So we'll see. I mean, if Ben is really in the move, then I still think it's better than all those other teams. Apparently, Miami is the other front runner. The Rockets must really like Tyler Hero. I mean, you can say if Houston decided to go with Tyler Hero, and maybe Duncan Robinson's in the move as well, and whatever picks Miami can actually give the Rockets. I mean, you pair those two up with John Wall and Christian Wood and Steven Silas, who was good in Dallas. That's an actual basketball team. That's not a team that's going to fall apart. And you could also argue the fit of John Wall and Ben Simmons could be a little awkward. My reply to that would be, who cares? You have a chance to get Ben Simmons. Figure it out later. But maybe that would be a big deal for the Rockets. And it's not like Tyler Hero is no slouch. I mean, it's very possible, probably likely, that Tyler Hero is going to be a 20-plus point scorer and one of the best shooters in the league. And Duncan Robinson is already one of the best shooters in the league. And perhaps Houston, with that and a couple of picks from Miami, maybe they would view that as better than Ben Simmons or whatever. Now, maybe I said this earlier in the video, I don't remember. I've had to redo this a couple times because things keep changing. But to think about the other teams who have been rumored for Harden and their offers, I mean, with Dallas, Porzingis would have to be the centerpiece of the move. I would not do that because I just don't trust Porzingis to be healthy. We'd have to see how the Rockets would feel about that. If Porzingis wasn't in the move, I don't know how Dallas would have any chance of getting Harden. If we're going to look at Toronto, Siakam, Van Fleet, Anunoby, combination of those three. The Raptors have all of their picks moving forward. But I also don't know if Harden would want to go to, it would be Tampa this year, and then Toronto long term. I mean, maybe, but it's just, do we really think that Harden would be psyched to sign a 5-year deal with Toronto? I mean, it's disappointing to say that because the Raptors are one of the most respected organizations, and oh, by the way, they won the finals 2 years ago. But when you look at the way Harden has operated the past couple of years in terms of like wanting Westbrook instead of Chris Paul, and the team he immediately wants to go to is the Nets, and the other one could be Philly where it's Daryl Morey. Basically, I think there's a chance that Harden cares a little too much about, do I have friends in the place that I could get traded to? And as a result, I think he could make it clear to the Raptors that he does not plan to re-sign there. Now, if we talk about the Nets, I feel like it would have to either be at minimum 5 picks going to the Rockets, or a third team would have to get involved. So we'll see. Harden is probably going to get moved within, like, I don't know, a week and a half or so. Maybe even like a couple days. I know the Rockets have said they're willing to start the season with Harden, and I actually do believe them on that one. But based on what we're reading, it might be pretty quick here.